Right, so in this video, let's set up our collections as well as our reference images before we start blocking out and sculpting the character. So to start off, let's rename the first collection. Let's name this to Blockout. This is where we'll be placing all our blockout and sculpts, the early sculpts, and we'll also create some more collection just so we can keep things separated. So the next collection I want to create is going to be references. So let's add a new collection and let's call it references. Let's now add another collection, and let's call this collection temp. This will be our temporary collection where we can put items that either be temporary or items that do not belong in any of the other collections. This helps us keep everything nice and organized. Right, so let's now remove our camera and light objects since we won't be needing these, and let's add in our references. Right, so let's drag and drop in our reference here. We're gonna get the concept 2.1 image for this. So let's drag that in. So let's now set this up properly because the orientation is wrong. So let's undo both the rotation and location of this image. So let's first move it into its correct collection. So let's move it over here. Now we're going to press Alt-R to reset its rotation and Alt-G to reset its location. Now we're going to go to the side view and we're going to go and rotate it minus 90 degrees along the x-axis so we have it nice and facing the front view. So now we're going to go and adjust some of the image settings for these reference images. So if we go to the image panel over here for the empty, we can see we have a few settings that we can adjust. Now one of the first settings I would like to adjust is going to be the depth setting. So let's move the window over a bit so we can see it better. So let's drag the window over. And here we have our depth setting, currently set to default, meaning that if an object is in front of our reference image, it will occlude it. So what we want is our reference images to be in front of whatever is present. So what we're going to do is set our depth to front, which means that our reference image will always be in front, regardless of any object in 3D space being in front of it. Now, obviously, we now have a problem. We can't see our objects. So to fix this, we can use the opacity setting. So if we enable the opacity setting and we drag the value down, you can see we start to see our objects again. So this will allow us to work on our objects and have our references in the background. So now we have another issue. We have our reference images showing up in the 3D space as well. We just want to have them in orthographic view. So to fix this, we simply need to deselect the perspective box over here. And now we should only see it in orthographic view. So now we've done that, we would like to adjust the orientation of the image relative to the origin. So to do this, we can use the offsets. So we have the X and Y settings. So let's use the Y offset to push up the image until the feet touch roughly the X-axis. So I'm going to look for this X-axis line and adjust it so it lines up perfectly. Now I'm going to do the exact same for the x-axis. So we're going to go here, look at the z-axis line, and then adjust the x-axis until it lines up perfectly to the z line. So there we have our image nicely aligned. But now if we go to the back view with Control number pad 1, we can see we still see the image at the back. So to fix this, we simply set the side to front only. Now we no longer see the reference image in the back view. So to keep things organized, let's now rename this to front. And let's now duplicate the reference image with Shift D. And let's now set this as the back image. So we're going to go to side setting and set it to back. So now we can see the reference image here at the back. So now I want to get the back side of the character to the center line. So let's drag it over here using the offset. Now I want to align it with the Z axis over here. So it looks pretty good already. So now we have that. We can now swap between front view and back view. As you can see, we have our references lined up nicely. Let's now rename this to back so we can keep things organized. And let's now duplicate the front image so we can also line up the other image of the body of the character. Body front. Actually, I think I'm going to rename it to front body as this will make it easier to find. So let's rename this front body. Now let's align the body to the center line. So we'll use the X offset again. We'll shift this over to about there. So let's zoom in, make sure we got it properly lined up. So let's put that nice in the middle over here. So now we have the front body as well lined up. Now I just need to make one final adjustment. We don't want to accidentally select the objects. So let's add some restrictions. So let's go up over here and here we find our restriction toggles. So let's select the selectable toggle. Now we're going to go to the outliner and here we disable the selection. So now we can still select them in the outliner, but in the 3D space, we will not be able to select them. Here we can also hide and unhide our references in the outliner. So let's now hide our front view. So we have our front body view only visible. So now I think we have our scene ready. We have our collections and references sorted. So let's now go to our next video where we're gonna go and start blocking out the head.